Hello, podcast listeners. You are now listening to the Coffee, Health, and Science podcast. I'm your host, Jordan River, and I want to thank you for tuning in today. Before we get started, please share the Coffee, Health, and Science podcast. Share with a peer, with a colleague. Share the show. It's how we grow. We do appreciate it. Make sure you're subscribed. Give us a good rating and review. It helps the show grow. Today, we are talking with someone who I've been waiting to speak to for quite a while here. Really excited to talk about detox and the many different facets of her detox system. From Creatrix Solutions, we have Eileen Durfee on the line. How's it going, Eileen?
It's going great. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about all the things you inform your listeners of.
Absolutely. And detox is a big thing that comes up on this show. You know, we talk a lot about coffee, don't get me wrong, but we talk about all things alternative wellness and all the things that coffee touches. You know, and detox is something that is a hot topic in the world today. You know what I mean? Especially for those trying to get well. This is a very common theme on the podcast. A lot of people have been caught up in the modern medical system. As miraculous as it is, sometimes it doesn't treat some of the most, anti-wellness issues. You know, there's ones that the modern medicine really has trouble solving, much like heavy metal detox, autoimmune diseases. When it comes to sustained wellness, people are turning towards these alternative practices and having some serious success. But I want to start with Creatrix Solutions. I want to start with your story, how you got passionate about alternative medicine and detox, and how you ended up, conceiving and building Creatrix Solutions.
Well, I've been sick my whole life. From the time I was born, I was almost a miscarriage, so I had structural issues, had to wear special shoes. I mean, at one time I grew 9 inches in 3 months. I have been pained, been ran over by a car. I ended up developing allergies and was allergic to everything. And of course, doctors want to put you on this medication and that medication, which some people have success with medications. They have what I call artificial health, but those didn't even give me artificial health.
Right.
And so I had the underlying gut feeling that, if my body just had what it needed, I could get well. Then I realized toxins were making me sick. I mean, I was a nuclear power plant engineer inspector, so I was around welding fumes and all kinds of other chemicals before they, cared about air quality. And I just became allergic to everything. So I was big into, one of the first things I tried was like the Bernard Jensen, colonics and,
right.
The diet. And, then I came across thinking I had, my whole problem was candida. And, I just was always trying something, but I switched from using drugs to medicate symptoms to using natural substances to medicate symptoms. I was my own guinea pig. And along the way, later on, I found out that I actually caused some of my health problems. I would, medicate one area and do pretty good in it, but then I would cause other problems. So I got into the world of hair analysis, kind of like a farmer figuring out what kind of fertilizer to put on the ground.
Yeah, like a soil test. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then when I got on that program, detox became very important to me because your body thought it won the lottery and would then be able to get rid of the toxins out of your cells and your tissues. And when it was circulating in the bloodstream, I felt like crap. So it's like, people who've gone on detox fasts, where they feel horrible. My stand is you don't have to feel horrible. You've got to open up your detox pathways. And so I'm a gizmo woman. I don't know how many of the listeners out there have closets full of stuff they bought and never used, right? Well, I try to break everything, figure it out, and then I go to sleep, I dream, and I come up with a better way, better features of items. And so
you're kind of an engineer? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, the main therapies I started out with when I was working under a doctor to learn all the ins and outs of nutritional balancing science and the detox protocols and everything like that. I was given a challenge to do a coffee enema every day, to do near infrared sauna therapy, to drink spring water, to do all these different things. And so I was, after the nuclear power plant industry kind of got built or mothballed, I went into real estate. I did land development, and I built and sold houses and ran construction crews. And, all along, I just spared no expense at trying all these things. There's kind of like a little mad scientist, and slowly I began, restoring my health. And then about 2010, actually in October of 2010 is when I first started my health business. And from there, it grew. Originally, I used to have like multiple wave oscillators and Rife machines and Bob Beck, magnetic pulsers and Holder Clark zappers.
Nice.
And, Dr. Alan Beck's AM3, the pulsed electromagnetic frequency machines. And, so I was
You've tried it all.
Really into that, and then, I switched over to the hair analysis because, people, what happens when your car won't start and your battery's dead? It's because the minerals have gone out of whack. And so I felt like that in these electronic machines, even though I'd be pain-free, I was sleeping, all these good things were happening, but I felt like a ball and chain. It's like, oh my gosh, I got to get the jumper cables out to start and drive my car for the day.
This fatigue crisis, it's literally plaguing the world. It's crazy.
It is.
I don't know what this fatigue I have really labeled it on this show because every functional medicine doctor I talk to says the same thing. Their patients come to them just saying, my physician tells me there's nothing wrong with me and I feel like crap and I have no energy. That's really wild. And I'd imagine that, detox can play a huge role in that. Now you've tried a million different things, and don't let me put words in your mouth, Eileen, but I almost feel like you have to do that. You have to take responsibility for your own health and explore for your own, because different keys unlock certain things for different people. Like, for instance, I think of producer Benny, a co-producer on this show. He's a Afghanistan war veteran, and he had the worst problems with, trauma, and his neck was all jacked up from IEDs and all this stuff. Well, he finally tried acupuncture. And acupuncture was this huge breakthrough for him. And I remember trying acupuncture and not having as much of a breakthrough as I did for something like chiropractic or saunas. Is it about like finding the key for your body? Or again, don't let me put words in your mouth. Is it more about kind of the holistic approach and doing everything for that purpose?
Well, everyone's a biochemical individual.
Right.
Now, structure plays a huge portion in this whole energy. And so I really think that people have to try different things.
Yeah.
Not like Russian roulette, but, systematically and researching, looking to others who maybe had similar problems, who had success, but not to get discouraged, or give up if something doesn't happen overnight. That's the other thing people forget, is it takes time. Mm-hmm. But I got to speak to this fatigue thing. That's the first sign you have an imbalance. And that's why I love hair analysis, because it measures the thyroid energy production, the adrenal gland energy production, and then the homeostatic balances that represent biological equipment in the body at the cell level. Because bottom line, it goes back to the cell level, like the sodium potassium ratio. It used to be coined the life and death ratio. Yet we can do things ourselves so simply as maybe taking a lot of vitamin C that skews the sodium way above the potassium, so you lose your balance.
Oh, wow.
And then your body's actually more prone to needing, out of a survival mechanism, toxic elements, because it can't get the right, I call them OEM car parts, the new car part in there to get things to work.
Wow.
And so definitely, a person needs to look at their biochemical individuality.
Yes. They
need to nourish their body and realize, if you had the key to the front door You just walk right in. But what if you don't have the key? You're going to go around the backyard, maybe crawl up a ladder and break in the window. Did that take you more energy and more time to do that? It sure did. And that's what people don't realize with the body. Now, here's an example, a classic example. Right. 99% of your calcium is supposed to be in your bones, teeth, and nerve fibers. Mm-hmm. But every time you move a muscle, your body releases elements of calcium. Okay, so then you got to ask yourself, how does the body get it back in the bones? Because that's a major problem. It's not getting back in the bones. And there's a piece of equipment. It's awesome. It's called the sodium calcium exchanger. And it takes 3 elements of sodium to 1 element of calcium to put it back where you go. And then you think, well, why isn't my sodium calcium exchanger working? Let's see, you're stressed out, so the adrenal glands quit producing enough aldosterone, because aldosterone is what really controls electrolyte sodium levels. So if you have adrenal fatigue, first person, out there, I mean, that is the most common complaint.
Yeah, totally.
Is, fatigue, which does relate to the adrenal gland and thyroid gland. And there is an answer for all these medically unexplained symptoms. You go to the doctor, they say you're fine because everything tests normal and you feel like crap. Yeah. It's because you're toxic and your body doesn't have the preferred minerals. It's like by design, your bones need calcium. The man's prostate has more zinc than any organ. The thyroid gland has more selenium than any organ. But, mercury, goes right where selenium should be. Cadmium, the body uses that as a junkyard part for zinc. And pretty soon, out of a 150-pound body, back in the 1970s, the EPA admitted that you can have 15 pounds of toxins in you. I mean, heavy metals.
Yeah.
And so today, with all the other interactions, with all the other chemicals they've introduced, I mean, what do we have? We've got lots of stuff. See, every cell has an enzyme binding site that has to have that mineral. And when that mineral isn't there, a substitute one goes in there. So the body will be happy. I mean, no function is not good. So the body will actually attract like a magnet, lead for calcium, cadmium for zinc, and so on. And so the wellness revolution does not respect that. It's like, we got to do two.
I mean, I didn't know that's exactly how that's where these heavy metals end up within your body and why. I've never heard someone explain it so succinctly before.
Well, you got this sodium pump, and you got to think of all your electrolytes in your blood and everything. It's like under pressure, it's pumped. And the sodium pump has to have these right ratios to be able to deliver the nutrients up the concentration gradient to get to the cell enzyme binding sites. And if it can't do that, they don't call them heavy metals for nothing. They can get there without that sodium pump.
That's fascinating. That's really fascinating.
So that's why this hair analysis works so good, is because it's not a chelator. It doesn't rip the good with the bad and create further imbalances, like maybe, in dire emergencies like 9/11 firefighters with the Townsend sauna therapy that they did for hours and all the nutrients they did. That was quick. It got them detoxed. But for the ordinary person, that's going to be too extreme and it's going to cause other imbalances.
Right. Oh,
where what you want to do is fix the reason why your body had to use lead or cadmium or aluminum for other cellular processes, and then let it think it won the lottery. Because, the body's amazing how it was created, because it'll always use the most efficient item present if it can.
Right.
So when you start on this balancing, and then you have to do the detox protocols, the near-infrared sauna, dry skin brushing. I mean, the more you do, the better. Otherwise, you're just going to be miserable.
That's crazy.
Because your body's going to get it out of the cells and the organs. And when it's circulating in the bloodstream, let me tell you, you can have every imaginable reaction. And a lot of people stop and they say, wait, it's making me worse. That isn't what I'm going to do. And then they never get well.
So do you just have to keep at
detox.
it? Do you have to keep at it and ride that line of just slowly detoxing according to your level? I mean, it's so tough because it's so subjective.
Well,
inherently,
the EPA says indoor air is 3 to 5 times more toxic than outdoor air. You've got cleaning chemicals, you've got stuff from your carpet, your paints, your furniture, you've got a sedentary lifestyle. You don't have enough oxygen. And, that HVAC systems strip the negative ions out of the air, so you don't even have the volume per cubic centimeter for normal function in your body. Let's throw in the fact that 80% of people are dehydrated.
I was going to bring that up with the sodium thing. Is if we're drinking, how does that work if we're all drinking soda instead of water or Monster Energy drink?
Oh, the phosphoric acid in the soda in the pop needs to bind with the molecule of calcium. So then it's going to leach out of the bones to get that. I don't drink pop. It is so. You know what pop is? The syrup. When they transport syrup for the pop machines, it has to go under a hazardous waste label on the truck.
Dang, is that
because
for real?
It's so acid.
Wow.
That if it's spilled on the road, it'd be a hazardous cleanup. But yet we dilute that.
Just dilute it a little bit. It's fine. It'll be fine for your gut. Don't worry about it. It's crazy, man. That's like, that's going to be one of the biggest. People are going to look back on that very unfondly. I've said this before, and I'm not like, this isn't a political statement. This is a health statement. We have so many thoughts about cigarette smoking age and alcohol drinking age and marijuana consumption age, but soda, pass it around, baby. No problem. So it's just funny how there's like no thoughts on that. But anyways, I digress. It was interesting you brought up the 9/11 responders study, because that just came up on last week's podcast or the week before there. Very, very fascinating. This is obviously an extreme case. The 9/11 responders were exposed to so much. But I think that the proof of efficacy when it comes to specifically, it seems like it revolved around the infrared sauna. But as you said, it also says in addition to acupuncture, IV vitamin and mineral supplementation, as you said, sound healing. Man, they gave these guys the full hippie treatment, and it worked. It totally worked. So there's something to this.
They actually had black goo coming out of their skin when they were sweating.
That's hardcore. That is hardcore. Yeah. So, but to prove efficacy on such an extreme case leads me to believe it's like Dr. Sanjeev Chopra said about coffee. It's like dose dependent. If it works in such an extreme case, surely you can dial it down and have it be more of a wellness protocol as well.
Absolutely.
Interesting. Yeah, sauna, massage, detox clay, herbal body wraps. They went all out. That's crazy. Really, really nuts. Let's move on to because you want to talk about your saunas. Your saunas are different than most saunas. This is a home sauna kit. You can get it at creatrixsolutions.com. Find the link in the description. I'll spell it for you. Creatrix solutions.com. Yeah, these look really great. First of all, you were saying off air that you're a pretty tall lady. You got a nice healthy son who's 6'5" or something. So you wanted to make a sauna that was big enough, not just to sit and relax, but you wanted to be able to stretch and do yoga in this thing, right?
Yes.
That's cool.
I used to have a smaller sauna that was 4 foot by 4 foot by 5 foot. So you had to go crawl in and sit on a stool, and you had to preheat the thing. And then I had customers that flipped the sauna on the side, put the floor against the wall, and laid diagonal. And I go, oh my gosh, nice. I have got to make a transformer. We got to be able to stand up, sit down, lay down. So I did a smaller tent. That is just really cool. It's got an R12 insulation. If your hairdryer plugs in, it'll work. And, it'll be in 5 minutes, it's 120 degrees, and you sweat a lot faster because of the maximized phototherapy. But then I had Jen from Yoga Digest, where she got 2 tents and she zipped them together, and she said, oh, only if it was this and it was that, then I could be Superwoman. So I just built a bigger one. That's about twice the size. And it's amazing. Now, if anybody goes to my Instagram for Creatrix Solutions, you will see movie stars, football players, biohackers all over the place using this thing.
Nice.
And hands down, oh my gosh, it's just revolutionary. I actually got the utility patent for it.
Nice.
So actually there is no competition. This is your only portable hot yoga studio or sauna that you can stand, sit, or lay, that has the radiant panels. And I thought about our health. Hey, we're working on this. We want to detox. So I use like organic cotton,
Nice.
ROHS certified materials. When they did the bamboo, I had them boil it and bake it under pressure instead of using fumigants, and just on
You
and
went all
on.
out. That's great.
So
I love that.
you can assure. But then I went one step further. What do we do? Yoga and breath work for to get more oxygen in our bodies and all that feel good stuff. But when we're sweating in a sauna, there was a study where they analyzed somebody just exercising, in sympathetic mode, what is in that sweat, and then somebody in parasympathetic mode in a sauna and analyze their sweat. What was in it? Oh my gosh, when you are parasympathetic in a sauna, there are so many toxins in that sweat. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
But what happens when we're in a sauna? The humidity, because we're sweating. So our sweat, our toxic humidified sauna sweat, we're rebreathing it. Did anybody think about that?
Do you ventilate yours?
I have a device called the Breathe Safe that I invented. That right off the top,
You're crazy,
increases
Eileen. I mean that in the best way.
I gotta solve the problems that I encounter, right?
That's
So
wild. So what does this thing do? This breather?
it, right off the top, it only takes 3 watts of power. You can use your power bank and plug it in and take it with you, or put it on your thing, have it blow up in your face. If you're within 40 inches of that, it increases your oxygen you're inhaling by 70 to 118%. It fills the air with over 300% more negative ions than was used in a sauna study that I'll tell you about. But then it powerfully eliminates volatile organic compounds, benzenes, formaldehydes, and plastics, and all this stuff that is going to be in your sauna sweat. So in Europe, they rate saunas based on negative ion content in the atmosphere.
What?
They believe that half of the benefits of taking a sauna is from the negative ion component.
No way. That's wild. Okay, so I'm a big. This goes way back. We've talked about the studies on longevity for the sauna cultures. You take a look at Scandinavia, the Scandinavian cultures where they jump into the cold and into the sauna. I've never heard specifically about the ionization. I would love to hear more about this.
Yes, I've got studies I can send you. And
please.
So what happened is they wanted to have 20. They did a study, and as long as there was 20,000 negative ions per cubic centimeter, that's the size of a sugar cube, then some amazing things happened to these people. So keep in mind, my Breathe Safe produces 56,000 negative ions per cubic centimeter when you're in that sauna.
How is it produced naturally? By the lights or by the?
No. My Breathe Safe is an electronic device that has some discharge needles and some plates with different voltages, and my patented boosted circuit in there that does this magic of cleaning up the air and leaving over oxygen.
But in a traditional sauna, there's a little bit of that from the sauna process itself.
No, actually, when you're in a sauna, unless it's a traditional sauna with a certain type of heater, because this is what the study was in Europe, is because some heaters produce positive ions, which fatigue you.
Oh, whoa.
And some of them produce negative ions, which was the miracle.
It's so weird.
But just taking a sauna without like a far infrared sauna or a full spectrum sauna, when you're in the process of sweating and detoxing, you're eliminating poisonous positive ions.
Mm-hmm.
That's why a lot of people get fatigued when they're taking a sauna, but then they get my sauna and the breathe safe and they don't feel fatigued.
That's crazy.
You know, so with these negative ions, you know, the first thing the body does in a sauna, it's a homeostatic response. It will actually lower your rectal temperature. It's trying to cool you down. That's just a homeostatic response. And then, of course, it rises. And then when you get out of the sauna, it begins to go back down. Well, a strange thing happened for the people that were inhaling those ions. Their rectal temperature didn't go down. Their body didn't have that stress impact. And then their skin surface temperatures were hotter. The amount of sweat that dripped off their skin was twice as much as when they actually took a sauna without inhaling those ions. And their blood chemistry changed. But, you know, you'd think, boy, if you're hotter and sweatier, would you feel uncomfortable? No, all of them felt more refreshed.
Right.
And then when they got out of the sauna, this is the most amazing thing, their rectal temperature continued to rise. Now, why do people with cancer or why do any of us want to do sauna therapy? Because we want to have that heat stress. We want to raise our core body temperature up as high as we can. And we want to sweat out toxins. I mean, so my invention with combined, like far infrared, full spectrum, it's all about light. What does light do? It travels at the speed of light. All the other saunas on the market, those lights just keep on flying out of there, just constantly leaving.
Yeah.
Well, I use radiant panels to where the light can't leave.
Mm-hmm.
So it's maximizing phototherapy. So when people take my sauna, the reason why they sweat twice as much in half the time and feel greater
is the light. Interesting.
The near infrared. You know, cancer.gov now is shining near infrared light on inoperable tumors. Hope for Cancer only recommends an incandescent bulb near infrared sauna because the cells respond to near infrared specifically to where the mitochondria activate and produce ATP. Cancer cells have lower levels of ATP than any in the body. And, you know, everybody's fatigued, right? Because you normally have to digest your food, metabolize it to produce ATP.
Right.
So here's a hack. Just shine some light on your body and feel like you got energy.
That's crazy, man. And that's exactly some other previous guests, like Harvard Medical, Dr. Sanjeev Chopra. He talks about how when humans started putting on too many clothes, how it restricted our vitamin D intake and all the reactions from the sun. Because Sanjeev Chopra kind of sounded like a nudist. But what he was saying is that you need like 66% of your body exposed. So, and this is just talking about sunlight and vitamin D. So right on the same page with you. And we need to be thinking about this sort of thing because it's causing, as I said earlier, what I would consider epidemics like this fatigue epidemic and the autoimmune epidemic and the toxicity epidemic. These are real problems that I don't think are going to go anywhere until we incorporate these types of practices into our life. And then B, I love your scientific approach. I want more research. I want more studies. I don't know who's out there to fund these studies, but they really, really need funding. They need to be done. You know what I mean? Let's get some real hard research and get some white papers on this sort of thing. Do you see that coming down the road? Do you see more and more research coming out? Do we have a bright future, or is there still
I think
pushback?
There is a wellness trend because people are sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yes.
But bottom line, profits drive research.
Right.
And when we are into allopathic medicine, I mean, I think there's a place for allopathic medicine in emergencies, but, you know, basically we as individuals need to start taking responsible for our health.
Yes.
We need to start restoring natural health and quit being satisfied with artificial health. But I really don't see more studies of that kind
Yeah, who's going to fund
being
it?
done. I mean, a last major study that I really like that was done on something super simple that could probably get rid of 80% of disease in everybody was done by Dr. Batman Galige. And he has a book called Your Body's Many Cries for Water.
Oh,
and, the body has water allocation systems in the body based on histamine receptors. When you're dehydrated, histamines go up, and then your body will squeeze your blood vessels. Oh, gee, maybe that's the reason why people have high blood pressure. They're chronically dehydrated.
Wow.
And so then the body can take that water and then put it somewhere like your joint cartilage. That's low on the totem pole because your bone marrow and other areas are more important. And so we see lots of things. So the lady that I know that has high blood pressure, her doctor said, of course, low sodium. Okay. So then water, she starts having frequent urination. So then she stops drinking water in the late afternoon. So then she develops asthma at night.
Whoa.
Well, guess what? You lose more water through breathing than anything. So the body wants to allocate the water to the most important spot. So her lungs start to get squeezed because, she stopped drinking water because of frequent urination. But see, this is another hack that I found out because a lot of people are dehydrated and they're acid. So I found a family that for thousands of years has mined some salt from an ancient seabed deposit in Eileens, South Korea. Then they take it and they debrine it in the shade. And then for 3.5 years, they put herbs on it, which they won't disclose, and they wash it and they rake it, and then they burn it in a special pot under high flame for days and days and days.
What?
So then what you have is a powder. And when I first saw this, I thought, that's the most expensive salt in the world. I am not buying it. But then I saw them put pinches of all the other sea salts that I'm using in there, and the water still remained acid. Pinch of healthy salt, boom, it was alkaline. I go, okay, there's something to this. Every month they cut my hair an inch long, got it analyzed. It was a month on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off of this salt to find out what was going on. And I had such positive results. I spent thousands of dollars to analyze it. And it turns out it's 10.72 pH, 20% minerals. And it's a powder. It's the finest salt in the world.
Jeez, high.
And compared to Himalayan, pink salt, it's 0.8% minerals, 98% sodium chloride with some sulfur. Yet they'll brag, read the label of some of these salts. It's like, oh my God, you'd think you'd be getting a lot of percentage of minerals. No, you're not. And so these minerals are critical. So with this healthy salt, if that's not a miracle enough, the negative charge is important because of Dr. Pollack's research at the University of Washington. He found out now that water is just not ice, liquid, or vapor. It's another state of matter. It's the fourth phase of water. And so before his discovery, they never knew biologically how our body propelled the osmotic flow in our cells.
I feel like we could go and go and go. Maybe there's a part 2 in our future.
Yeah, well, there's the whole coffee enema thing.
We didn't even get to coffee enema. Okay, hold on. We got to talk.
Do we have time for a quick story about how I fell in love with coffee enemas?
Please share anything you want.
Okay, so I was challenged to do a daily coffee enema. And, let me tell you, it was a mess because you don't have bowel control. So you can't hold it all in there and you can't hold it for 12 minutes. And it comes out when you try to get up, it goes everywhere. But, patience and practice make perfect. And you come up with some tips and tricks for that. But I really wanted to, after 2 weeks, it's like, oh my gosh, these things sell themselves. So I looked a little bit at history. Of course, they've been doing coffee enemas for 3,000 years. But I think the best story of how it gained popularity that resulted in scientific proof of why it worked was in World War I. They were operating on soldiers without painkillers, without anesthesia. And one of the nurses started throwing coffee in the plain water enema that the doctor always ordered, because after all, it kept the doctor going. And what happened is their pain dramatically reduced.
Wow.
And so it became so famous that 3 universities in Europe did studies. They had a bunch of rats. They started putting coffee water up rats' houses to find out what is going on. And they found this, that in 12 minutes, all the palmitic acid and the caffeine were eliminated, which went up the bile duct, which looks like a plant root, really, all along your intestine that goes, they call it the portal vein, up to the liver. And it causes the liver bile ducts to dilate, which increases bile production.
Yeah, kind of flushes it out too. Right? We did a whole episode, and so someone was saying the bile duct is just this incredibly important part of the human function. And yeah, I totally feel you.
And then what else it did is it increased glutathione 600%. How many people are spending money on buying glutathione that doesn't really get through the gut very well?
Just need a coffee enema. That's great.
You just need a coffee enema, and then it actually filled your bloodstream with free radical scavengers.
Right.
Okay.
No, we've talked about those components in coffee as well, the free radical eliminators, but having that other delivery system through, what is it, the hemorrhoidal nerve or whatever, it's just incredibly effective, right?
Yeah. I mean, any college fraternity guy, because I had 2 sons that went to college. Oh my gosh, when I was, and then my son was in biology and chemistry classes and all this, and I was talking about things and asking him questions. He says, "Oh yeah, Mom." He says, one of the things you got to live through when you're in your fraternity is they give them alcohol enemas.
Up the butt.
And he said,
totally.
What a delivery system. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Of course, frat boys will take anything to that level. But it's the same. The same idea. It's like mainlining the stuff, man. And and I think that the boundary is just that it's just a little, like you said, it's a little weird and uncomfortable for your average person. But when they try it, it makes them feel great.
Well, I had people that, couldn't even walk down the driveway to get their mail.
Yeah, totally.
And I would tell them, when you lay down, have a bucket, because, when you get up, it's going to go everywhere. Kind of catch it and catch the mess.
That's not convenient, though. You know what I mean? It's not what you want.
I got a better solution now, but people were desperate enough that they did it. And 2 weeks later, this lady in her 60s could walk down to the mailbox without any pain.
Jeez, I didn't know about the pain reduction. I mean, I know it did.
It's huge.
Pain reduction. Wow.
It is. It's like taking hydrocodone or better. I mean, I haven't taken those, but I mean, it's just like the pain goes away.
Very, very interesting.
I mean, I had a guy that he didn't lay down, but he was, hydrocodone addict. He did hair analysis. I mean, because he had chronic unresolved issues, and the doctors kept on putting him on that stuff.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And so I got him into doing the coffee enema, and he wouldn't lay down. He had a bag, and he just kind of rolled it up so it would go inside when he was standing up. And I mean, this guy, in about 3 months, had completely been without pain on, by doing, the coffee enemas.
That's nuts.
And so that was just like amazing. But, I do have something that's coming out in November, because I do literally give everybody
tease it. Yeah, you've got it's a new delivery system. It's just a really convenient coffee enema device, right? It's just a jar. And you do it in the shower.
Stand up, you got a little pump, you just, hop out and sit on the toilet when you're ready. But that coffee enema, I had just been in a car wreck, had knee surgery, was in physical therapy, and they had that S3 machine that measures circulating antioxidants that was featured on the Dr. Oz show. And so they're all like into trying to sell you antioxidants, right? Mm-hmm. Well, they test mine, and mine is 80,000 units. Dr. Oz was 75, and I mean, if you have 60 or above, your cancer risk is pretty much nil.
Whoa.
And they're going, oh my gosh, what antioxidants are you taking? I go, well, I'm not doing any. I do my daily coffee enema. I do my near infrared sauna, and I take my supplements from my hair analysis, some minerals. And
Jeez.
that's it.
Wow.
You're going, oh my gosh.
It's the
and
coffee,
that
baby.
myth, a lot of people say, oh, that's just going to get rid of your electrolytes and cause all kinds of imbalances. Well, they did all my blood work. It was perfect. Later on, I got 2 different life insurance policies where they put you through the rigor. And the insurance company says, we've never in 5 years issued a policy at the highest health rating. What are you doing?
That's got to feel
Daily
good.
coffee, enemas, near infrared.
That's incredible.
I just have to repeat the same story,
Jeez.
But
wild.
yeah, it's amazing.
Eileen, this was a very I'm just going to say it was a surprising interview. Like when we got on, I knew we were going to talk detox, but I didn't know you were A, so animated, and B, like this engineer, science-minded. It was just really pleasurable. Thank you for coming on the show and for sharing all of your wonderful knowledge that you shared today.
Well, I hope I've encouraged people to get out there and try something. And I tell them, don't do everything. Just do one thing. And then when that starts giving you the payday and you're like, oh man, she said that and it did happen, and add something else. And then it becomes a way of life. Every morning I transform into Superwoman by doing these things. It's so worth it.
I love it, Eileen. We'll let you get back to saving the world as Superwoman. Thank you so much. Listeners, make sure to go to creatrixsolutions.com and also find them on Instagram at Creatrix Solutions, right, Eileen?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Correct.
Go and give them a follow, everybody. Thank you so much for subscribing. Stay tuned. We've got some great content coming at you shortly. This is Eileen Durfee and Jordan River signing off. Wishing you an extraordinary day. We'll see you next time on the Coffee, Health, and Science Podcast.